YouTube, it's William. Welcome to another Whittle Talk. Let's talk about the 6-inch butcher knife. What is the advantages of a 6-inch butcher knife? In my opinion. All these Whittle Talks are my opinion. I prefer a 6-inch butcher knife, especially skinning game, for several reasons. Now, I can use this knife to skin small game like squirrels and things like that, and I have done videos of me skinning a squirrel with a 6-inch butcher style knife in a video before, and it can be done very easily. I mean, you don't need a small knife to do that. Now, all of this goes back to your skill level and what you prefer and all that good stuff. I mean, if it doesn't fit you or doesn't work for you, then use what does. But this is why I prefer it, okay? I heard it said that you can skin a deer with a 2-inch bladed knife. Well, you can. You can skin a deer with a piece of flint rock that's, as long as it's sharp, then you could skin a deer with it. You could butcher a deer with it. Now, is that the optimum choice? I don't think so. I think given the option, the Native Americans would have wanted a steel butcher knife. Matter of fact, they did. As soon as they was able to get it, they got it instead of using the flint rocks. It's just the better option. I think the better option is a 6-inch butcher knife because I have more cutting surface. I have a longer blade that I can use, and it will get dull less often than a 4-inch blade because I'm using that 4-inch blade to cut everything. Whereas in here I'm using parts of the blade at different times. Hope that makes sense. The other reason I like a 6-inch blade is because when separating the skin from the carcass, whether it's fur animals that I've as a trapper or if it's a deer or whatever it is, I have a long blade that I can make one continuous cut instead of making 2 or 3 with a 4-inch blade. Less effort. Especially on the larger animals, the side meat, getting the side meat off, I can do it easier with a longer bladed knife. Just one cut and I've got the side meat removed from the ribs. Okay? Or with a 4-inch blade or 2 or 3.5 or whatever a lot of the skinners are, it takes 2 or 3 cuts. Again, that's more effort, more calories. The longer blades has the balance of the blade further on the blade. In other words, the knife balance is blade heavy, and that assists you in the cutting process because you have the weight of the blade helping you with the cut. Whereas the shorter blades, it's all muscle. You're forcing the blade to cut and you don't have that weight. Your balance of your knife is back here on the handle. Okay? So that's another reason why I prefer the longer blades for skinning and butchering. Now, I still like the thin blades, but most of the thin blades that I have has a saber grind, so I still have a little bit of steel left on them. Now, if I use a thicker steel like a 5/32, then I have a higher saber grind or a full flat grind to remove the steel, because I think, in my experience, a thin bladed knife cuts better. It has less drag on the blade. Now, a lot of people like a hollow grind. You know my opinion on hollow grinds, especially commercial hollow grinds. Now, there are custom knife makers out there that raise the argument with me about different wheel sizes and all that. I haven't used them, so they may have something there. I don't know. But my experience with commercial hollow grind blades, the blades are too thin above the apex of the secondary bevel, and they tend to be weak. Now, if you're going to use that knife for strictly butchering, then that's a totally different story. Okay, but back to the 6-inch blade. Another advantage that I see with a 6-inch blade is, especially when you're quartering an animal, when you're trying to separate the hams at the ball joints, then you have a longer blade that you can get in there and actually get to that ball joint a little bit easier than trying to use a 4-inch blade and slicing your way into it. With this, just one slice and you get down into the ball joint. Separating shoulders, again, you have one blade that's about one stroke and you can get that shoulder separated instead of 3 or 4 cuts to get the shoulder separated. Less muscle fatigue, less effort, less time. It's just, in my opinion, a better option for skinning game. Now, with that said, what is your guys' opinion? Let me know in the comments below. What do you use? What do you prefer? Now, the butcher knives have been used for, well, ever since steel was invented. And they have different lengths. You got a 10-inch butcher knife, you got 7-inch, you got 6 inches. I prefer the 6-inch. I think for North America is probably the best, most optimum length blade there is. It's not too big and it's not too small. That's why I prefer the 6-inch. So, with that said, you guys get out there, go whittle on a stick. If you do, take plenty of band-aids and lots of knives. We'll catch you again soon.